They handed me a suitcase for my birthday. There was no vacation, no cozy gathering with my family, just a suitcase. After that, my father told me, "You can pack tonight and leave in the morning." My mother smiled, not with meanness, but not with warmth either. It felt as if this choice was already made. My younger sister, Fiona Winfield, let out a laugh. I think that hurt me more than anything else, the way it all seemed so effortless for them. Earlier in the day, I had stopped by the grocery store and bought a small chocolate cake. It wasn't extravagant, just something simple I could set on the table and pretend we still cared about things like birthdays. When I got home, I carefully set it down between the dishes. Nobody even acknowledged its presence. At that point, we sat around the table, and they handed me a box that looked like a present, but inside was an eviction notice disguised with a ribbon. They never raised their voices. They offered no explanations. And I didn't put up a fight. All I managed was a quiet, "Okay," though I hadn't yet grasped that this had nothing to do with money, space, or attitude. This was about something much colder. They had stopped viewing me as part of the family long before they told me I had to move out, and I was the last one to realize it. There was a time when I didn't feel like a visitor in my own house. 502 Bad Gateway. Unable to reach the origin service. The service may be down, or it may not be responding to traffic from Cloudflared. The walls didn't do much to block sound. The carpet was worn out, and the hot water could never be trusted. But it belonged to me. I was renting it, of course, but I made every payment right on schedule. 502 Bad Gateway. Unable to reach the origin service. The service may be down, or it may not be responding to traffic from Cloudflared. I was gradually working toward something, moving forward in a steady and unnoticed way. My hope was that one day I could afford to buy a home of my own. It didn't have to be large, just somewhere with a modest kitchen window and a lock that only I could open. That image came to mind every single time I turned down an invitation to eat out, or when I removed a product from my online shopping basket. My younger sister, Fiona Winfield, seemed to exist in a parallel world, being 5 years younger than me and already collecting luxury purses and travel snapshots. Each time I dropped by for Saturday dinners, she had a new item to flaunt. "Check this out, Mara. It's the Terraini bag I convinced our mom I absolutely needed for classes." Or seriously, "You're still sporting that sweater from FriendWeb circa 2018? My mother never voiced her opinion. There were times when she would smile, and other times she let out a sigh, as if seeing how different we were left her feeling weary. I kept hoping it was something temporary and believed that if I kept showing up, kept pitching in, and remained the reliable one, eventually someone would say, "We notice you. We're proud of you." That recognition never came. Instead, it happened on a Saturday. I can recall it clearly, because the pot roast was in the oven and my father, Stuart Winfield, wore his usual expression that signaled uncomfortable news. "We need to talk to you," my father said, keeping his eyes on the table. My mother twisted her napkin even tighter than she normally did. "Your father lost his job. They eliminated the entire department." I told my mother I was sorry, and I truly meant it. But even as the words left my mouth, I sensed the atmosphere in the room shifting. Patricia continued, "There's the mortgage," then added utilities, Fiona's tuition, and after that, all three of them fixed their eyes on me. "Would you think about coming back home?" my mother asked me. "Just for a short period, to help us get through this situation." I didn't respond immediately. Deep down, a small voice cautioned me. If I moved back, I might never find my way out again. I wasn't doing it because I truly wanted to, or because it was a wise financial decision, but because when I saw my mother's red-rimmed eyes, my father's defeated posture, and my younger sister's uncommonly silent demeanor, I felt I ought to help. I gave my landlord my notice, packed my belongings into storage, and went back to the pale blue room I had painted in 10th grade. Only now, it didn't quite feel like mine anymore. While I was away, my younger sister had transformed it into a makeshift walk-in closet. She'd cleared just enough space for a single bed, but her clothes still hung on the walls, turning them into shimmering silk panels. On my first night back, I lay awake staring upwards, trying to convince myself that my father truly meant it when he promised, "Just until you get back on your feet." I repeated in my head that this was only for a short while. Being family meant stepping up, even during tough times. I arranged for a monthly transfer of $1,500 into my mother's account. That money went toward tuition and the mortgage, though I never questioned the specifics. All I understood was that it ran out quickly, and nobody ever expressed thanks. In the beginning, it didn't seem so bad. My mother cooked my favorite chicken pot pie. My father started referring to me as his anchor. Even my younger sister asked about my job on one occasion, but any appreciation soon vanished in a household where everyone's role stayed the same. By the third month, my father had managed to secure new employment. The pay was lower and he had to travel farther, but at least he was working. I waited for the moment when they'd finally say, "You've done enough." "You should start searching for your own place again," Patricia told me. But then she softened. "Your father's paycheck just isn't what it used to be. Just a bit longer, darling." I gave a silent nod, forcing myself not to ask, "For how much longer? How much do you expect from me?" Everything started to change after that. At first the shift was barely noticeable, but soon my long baths seemed extravagant, and my presence at dinner made things uneasy. Lasagna, which used to be my favorite, was replaced by stir-fry. Later, it turned into quinoa bowls. Eventually, it became whatever my younger sister wanted each week, with groceries now including snack packs I never ate. I noticed my shampoo was running out much quicker than I could restock it. My father started requesting gas money from me. My mother suddenly needed $100 for her hair appointment, saying her card had problems. The money I lent never came back, and my younger sister, so innocent and lost. She always showed up with something different: a smartwatch, shoes I couldn't have bought even with my own wages. She'd bring home makeup packaged in glass and gold. "Where's all this from?" I asked her one afternoon. I didn't mean to blame her. I just genuinely didn't understand. She simply rolled her eyes at me angrily and said, "Mind your own business. Just because someone chooses to live with fewer means doesn't mean the rest of us have to do the same." I should have pushed back more, but I didn't. At that stage, I still hoped that by always helping out, they wouldn't forget who I was. Instead, I gradually faded away. It wasn't immediate. I simply slipped into the background, like tracks disappearing as snow falls. It all unfolded on a Thursday. I got back late from my job again, having spent the entire week swamped with an urgent assignment that had been suddenly thrown at me. What I really craved was a steaming bath, my novel, and some peace. But instead, my younger sister, Fiona Winfield, was waiting near the staircase, almost jumping up and down with anticipation. "Finally, there you are," she exclaimed. "I need $900. No. Hi, hello, no. How was your day?" "Pardon me," I said, putting my bag down. "It's for my trip the following Friday," my younger sister replied, as if it were common knowledge. "My friends and I are heading to Harbor Point for 3 nights, and we've reserved 2 hotel rooms. They've each already settled up, so all that's left is your share." I stared at her for a moment. "My share?" I repeated. She let out an irritated sigh. "I mean what you owe to cover me, obviously. Come on, you get what I'm saying." A part of me broke inside. Did she honestly think I had $900 just sitting around? I replied quietly. "Every month, I hand over $1,500 to the house. I'm still driving a 12-year-old car. Half my shoes have worn through soles. And now you expect me to pay for your Harbor Point getaway?" Fiona's grin abruptly faded. Why am I overreacting? It's only money. My laugh came out sharp and acidic. No, Fiona. Money isn't all it is. It's hours at work. It's giving things up. It's the reason you get to relax in this house like royalty while I exist here unseen. You don't have to act like you're doing me a favor, I said. She fired back quickly. That's not what I'm doing. I'm simply making it clear. I could hardly believe this was really happening. Perhaps if my younger sister took a job during college the same way I had, she'd realize the real value of money. Immediately, her eyes brimmed with tears. So you think I'm lazy? So you're calling me a burden? I stayed silent. I didn't have to reply, but her crying soon filled the hallway with exaggerated, echoing sobs. In moments, my mother and my father showed up, as if they'd been summoned by an alarm. What's happening here? My mother demanded, gathering my younger sister into a hug. She called me lazy, my sister sobbed, her face pressed into our mother's shoulder. She said terrible things to me. My father turned to face me, his jaw taut with tension. Is that what happened? She was demanding $900 for a trip to Harbor Point. I answered, my voice trembling but steady. I told her I couldn't give it to her. That's all. And then you told her to find a job? My mother asked, her tone glacial. I told her what was real. That isn't your responsibility, Stuart retorted sharply. I stared at them all. You're paying for your house with the money I bring in. I feel I've earned the right to speak up. Then my mother said it, the one thing that would haunt me. There it was. She spat out, the moment we ask you for anything, you wave your money at us. I glanced back and forth between them, taking in their resentment and my younger sister's self-satisfied, tearful gaze behind her fingers. That was the instant I understood. There was no love for me. They simply endured my presence as long as I served a purpose. I left the room in silence. I closed my bedroom door and sat down on the bed I'd purchased a decade ago with my student stipend. There were no tears, no shouting. Instead, I finally saw the truth for what it was. Next came the day after, my 28th birthday. 502 Bad Gateway. Unable to reach the origin service. The service may be down, or it may not be responding to traffic from Cloudflared. That night, I returned to the house holding a small chocolate cake I'd picked up for myself, complete with a cheap plastic decoration. The lettering curled at the corners, and there they were, every one of them, gathered around the dining table in their best clothes. 502 Bad Gateway. Unable to reach the origin service. The service may be down, or it may not be responding to traffic from Cloudflared. It's your present, he said. I took my time opening it. When I looked inside, I saw a suitcase that was brand new, shiny, high-end, and spotless. Wow, I said, feeling uncertain. Are we taking a trip? They all laughed, but it wasn't warm laughter at all. Their chuckles weren't even mean, just as if I was the last one to figure out what everyone else already knew. You are, said my father. My mother leaned in closer. Pack up your belongings. You're leaving tomorrow, she told me. After that, I stayed silent. I didn't reply when they explained I wasn't needed anymore. I didn't say anything when my sister, Fiona Winfield, grinned at me from across the table like something had gone her way. And I didn't make a sound even later that night when I heard them downstairs, laughing, probably enjoying the cake. I'd bought it for myself. I lay awake in the same twin bed I'd once used for childhood dreams, eyes fixed on the ceiling as I silently recited the pattern of cracks, as if they were a prayer. When sunrise arrived, I started to pack. The new suitcase my family had given me contained whatever still truly belonged to me: a few important work documents, a used laptop, and a picture of myself at 19, holding my first paycheck in both hands and grinning as if my efforts would always be enough. Everyone was still asleep when I arranged a Zoom up. I didn't leave behind any message, Instead, I softly closed the door as I left. I assumed they wouldn't notice I was gone until they were waiting on the next deposit. That week, I booked a stay at Backpackers Rest. There were bunk beds, communal bathrooms, and a hallway that always smelled faintly of Lysol mixed with burnt toast, but at least I could finally breathe. And after 2 nights of exhaling, I sent a text to Teresa, my coworker. Teresa was 58, with a biting wit but a gentle spirit. She always addressed people as kid, wore heavy eyeliner, and kept hard candies stashed away in her desk. She never pressed for explanations, only said, "Come over, we'll chat." At her apartment, she offered coffee and a place to sit. For the first time, I let myself cry. It wasn't wild, chest-heaving sobs, just a gentle flow of tears, steady and soft, like water from a tap. At last, I felt freed from my emotional stalemate. Teresa offered me a mug of coffee, draped a blanket over me, and said, "You don't owe them your entire life just because they brought you into it." A week after that, I secured a tiny loft apartment with chipped linoleum, but for the first time, the lease finally listed my own name. When I picked up the keys, their jingle in my hand felt like proof that I still had a place in the world. Everything I bought was used: a mattress, a desk, and a single lamp with a lopsided shade. Every object I moved into that space felt like I was taking my life back. The silence was total. There were no shouts bleeding through the walls. People only knocked if it was truly important, and nobody ever accused me of being too much or overstepping boundaries. I brewed my first mug of tea there and enjoyed it while standing barefoot on chilly tiles, grinning as though I hadn't tasted anything so wonderful in ages. 7 months passed. They didn't contact me. Not a single message, no email, not even a belated birthday card made to look accidentally late. To be honest, that suited me perfectly. I filled my days with overtime, volunteering for extra assignments, and slowly rebuilding the savings account they'd emptied for 3 years, while that $1,500 wasn't vanishing from my balance every month. The money accumulated more quickly than I had imagined. I avoided indulgences, continued bringing my own food, and washed my dishes by hand. But this time, living that way was entirely my choice. No one was forcing me. Having someone on my side completely changed everything. Then one day, unexpectedly, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. I nearly allowed it to go straight to voicemail. Looking back, I wish I had avoided answering. "Hello?" I said. "It's Patricia," came through the line. My entire body froze. That particular syrupy inflection laced her voice, the same one my mother always used whenever she needed a favor, gentle and perfectly rehearsed. "We should talk," she insisted. "Can you come over to the house?" "I can't," I replied in a monotone. "Please just say what you need to right now." She hesitated, a heavy breath filling the brief silence. "Stuart lost his job again," Patricia explained. "There were more layoffs at work. It's been rough for us." I stayed silent. "We're behind on our payments," my mother went on. "Pioneer Federal Bank has mentioned foreclosure. We're at a loss, unsure how to proceed." I sensed the request before she said it, like thunderclouds gathering in the distance. "We're hoping you'll come home for a little while," she pleaded. "Maybe you can help cover bills like you did before." An abrupt, involuntary laugh escaped me. The sheer nerve was almost remarkable. "You threw me out," I told her on my birthday, after you'd been taking my money for months and hiding the truth about what was going on. "We were feeling the strain," my mother responded instantly. "You know how your father is. He doesn't always mean what he says." Calmly, I replied, "I'm not coming back. Not now. Not ever." "You're still our daughter," my mother said, her tone getting tense. "You should have remembered that before you used me like a cash machine with a birth certificate." I ended the call. Over the next few days, their attempts to reach me multiplied. Unknown numbers started calling, frantic texts appeared, and even a voicemail from my younger sister, who said, "I miss you. We need you." Not long after, an email arrived from Raymond Lynn, who I confirmed was an actual lawyer. The message was brief but menacing. 502 Bad Gateway. Unable to reach the origin service. The service may be down, or it may not be responding to traffic from Cloudflared. Raymond Lynn didn't hesitate. He prepared a letter for me that very day. The document he wrote was formal, impeccably worded, and absolutely damning. He detailed the $48,000 I had transferred over 27 months, enclosing all the supporting statements from Pioneer Federal Bank. He specifically mentioned the period when I lived in a partially converted closet, taking care of every bill even though I had no contract, and noted that I was removed without any advance warning. In his last paragraph, Raymond made our stance crystal clear. If your clients choose to take this issue any further, we are ready to file a countersuit for the entire $48,000, as well as legal expenses and compensation for distress. 4 days later, their attorney sent back a response with just a single sentence. My clients have decided not to continue with this action at this point. I assumed that would resolve everything, but about 3 weeks after that, I was at my local bank to arrange an automatic transfer for a fresh savings account and unexpectedly ran into them. My mother and my younger sister sat at Greg Hamilton's desk. They were both sharply dressed. In fact, my younger sister wore a blazer that likely cost more than my first month's rent. My mother had donned a string of pearls. The two of them leaned toward Greg Hamilton, speaking to him in low, urgent voices. I nearly walked away, but a feeling deep inside insisted, "No, stay put." Quiet and unnoticed, I took my place at the end of the line, listening in. "We're hoping to refinance," my mother explained with composure. "There's nobody else we can turn to for assistance." Greg's expression turned serious. "No help from relatives, then?" She gave a slight shake of her head. Turning to address only our group, I stepped forward. "Actually," I began, gently placing my folder on the corner of the desk, "you did receive help. $1,500 a month for 3 years. Pioneer Federal Bank account ending in 2074. Every payment was to be deposited on the 1st of each month." Fiona's face drained of color. Patricia became rigid. Greg Hamilton glanced at them before turning his gaze toward me. "You're Mara Winfield," I said, identifying myself. "The daughter." They failed to mention how quiet the room had become. My mother parted her lips to speak, but then said nothing. My younger sister shot up so quickly, her chair screeched against the floor. My tone never rose. I didn't boast. All I did was place the documents on the table, give Greg Hamilton a nod, and make my way to leave. As I was nearing the exit, I caught Greg Hamilton, the loan officer, mumbling, "We'll need to update the file." I stepped out into the world. By then, the day was almost over, and sunlight poured down in a golden, warm wash, the kind you only recognize once you're truly unburdened. That moment was my final encounter with them. There were no further phone calls, no more emails, just total silence, pure and well won. 15 months later, I put my signature on the deed for my very first house. It wasn't a grand place or anyone's fantasy, just a slim, modest townhouse nestled near the edge of an older neighborhood. The steps creaked, the mailbox leaned askew, and tufts of weeds poked up between the cracks in the driveway. It suited me perfectly. The keys felt unexpectedly weighty in my hand, perhaps because of everything they symbolized. This time, my name alone filled the deed. There were no co-signers, no strings attached, and no one else ushering me forward. Afterward, I dialed Teresa first. She arrived bearing coffee to celebrate and a container of lemon muffins. We lingered in my small kitchen while she examined the cupboards with the scrutiny of an inspector and remarked, "It's not luxurious, but you own it." "That's exactly it," I said, my grin spreading. 502 bad gateway. Unable to reach the origin service. The service may be down, or it may not be responding to traffic from Cloudflared. For the first time, it no longer felt like I was desperately trying to survive. Instead, I was creating a foundation for myself. 502 bad gateway. Unable to reach the origin service. The service may be down, or it may not be responding to traffic from Cloudflared. I didn't show much of a reaction. It wasn't hostility, just a lack of interest, the kind you feel when hearing about people from a place you left far behind. I didn't feel any animosity toward them. I had simply stopped feeling connected. I let go of the belief that being related meant a lifelong obligation. Now, when I step through my own front door, I'm not tense. I don't strain to hear movement, and there's no startled reaction to loud arguments. The quiet in my home belongs solely to me, and I find it gentle. Every so often, my thoughts drift to the suitcase sitting in my closet. It doesn't serve as a symbol of anyone forcing me out. Rather, it represents my decision to leave. I believed I had lost it all that day, but the truth was, what I truly lost was the false belief that I had ever been loved for who I really was. Yet what I gained instead was so much greater. A place to call home, personal boundaries, the ability to speak up, and a life that is truly my own. Sometimes I catch myself wondering whether they ever talk about me to others. I wonder if they claim I simply moved away, if they say we slowly drifted apart, if they sit down for dinners with just 2 forks instead of 3, pretending as though nothing has changed. 502 bad gateway. Unable to reach the origin service. The service may be down, or it may not be responding to traffic from Cloudflared. My mother exhales heavily into her cup of tea, proclaiming, "It used to be easier when my older sister helped." Yet she never admits what actually took place. They never speak about who they decided to exclude, or their reasons for doing so. 502 bad gateway. Unable to reach the origin service. The service may be down, or it may not be responding to traffic from Cloudflared. Even when they refused to meet my gaze, I made sure the light stayed on. Every month, every meal, and with every silent act, I was present. They simply acted as though I were invisible. At this point, I don't say their names aloud, but I leave traces behind. There's still a suitcase sitting in my closet, emails stored away without reply, and the house I purchased is solely mine, completely settled. So, if someone ever wonders what happened to me, Mara Winfield, the quiet one, the reliable one, they'll have a decision to make. They can either keep perpetuating the lie, or finally admit they let go of the only person who truly came through when it counted. It wasn't that I disappeared. Instead, I was intentionally wiped away.